Hi, welcome back. Faxi Nadu here, and we're continuing with our scope modular synthesis course. And what we're going to do right now in this segment is we're going to do something cool, obviously something cool. We're going to take theremin, and I'm sure 99% of you are familiar with theremins, and they're basically an invention by Leon Theremin that's been popularized by Bob Moog. That was like basically the first instrument that Bob Moog was making before he was making his modular synth and before he was making the mini Moog and all that stuff. He was actually making theremins and selling them. I think he was like actually going around the country and trying to get like music shops to buy those theremins. And that is kind of like how he got his start in synths. Um, all right, theremins. Let's just for a second before we build it, let's listen just for a minute. I know the sound quality on this video, obviously, it's like YouTube. It's from vinyl and then to YouTube and then to this crappy team viewer thing, and then me, obviously, on the mic. So, but this is just to get an idea. This is a theremin. So what he's doing basically, like we're gonna try to think how we're gonna do it. So he has an antenna right here and an antenna right here, and one antenna, or depends actually which theremin. You know, it could be one antenna, two antennas. Basically, with one hand, he's controlling over here the volume, and with the other hand, he's controlling the pitch of the instrument. So there's no MIDI, there's no nothing. It's like it's an electronic instrument that is kind of like it's a performance instrument. It's the same as you would have a guitar or a piano or anything else. You need to know how to play the theremin. This is like the point of the machine. So just a more. Obviously, as you will see, you know, we can build the theremin, but it's a lot in the performance. I'm going to emphasize this. So to get that theremin sound and to sound like he's making it sound, it's a lot in. He knows what he's doing right here. So. Just for fun, you know. Hope we don't get like a really loud commercial right now. No, we did. Okay, screw that. Never mind then. So, let's get to building it. So, a theremin. What did we actually hear right now? So we heard a sine oscillator, right? It did sound like a sine. Let's take out a sine oscillator right here. And I'm going to put it on monophonic mode because we heard it sounded monophonic. It's not a polyphonic instrument. It's playing one voice. So we're going to be one voice as well. There's something changing the volume. So there is an amplifier in there. What changes it, we'll discuss in a minute, but we know for sure there is an amplifier in there. This is our VCA. You should already know this stuff. Will be our amplifier. We mentioned that there is no MIDI. Okay, so where's the sine getting its frequency from? It's getting it like there's like a source, there's an oscillator inside, like we have here, and there's a frequency range for that oscillator. Control signal, which is telling that oscillator where on the frequency range to output. So we're going to use a control signal as well. And then the same goes on the theremin itself. The same goes for the volume, right? Exactly the same as the oscillator. There is something that is telling the VCA at what point it's on. So what I'm getting at is it's all happening in real time and all the time. There is no information like in MIDI or like in a keyboard. There's no like nothing is telling the VCA to start or stop, and nothing is telling the oscillator exactly what frequency to be on as far as like change from a fifth octave C note to a third octave E note. It's all continuous information. So we're going to do the same. We're going to use for this the XY control module, which I've already taken out prior. And you see it right here. It's somewhere here in modifiers or in mixers, somewhere here. You just have to scroll around and find this module. It's not a big deal. So um, this is the module, and what it actually is an, as you can see, is an XY axis pad. Where you are on the pad will output two things. It will output the parameter of the X and the parameter of the Y. So you have, let's say, over here would be like obviously a high X and nothing on the Y, you know. Um, we're gonna go like my logic would be that the Y would be the frequency and the X would be the volume, but you can do it any other way. You can do it any way you want. You can decide that it's the opposite way, and there's no problem with that. So yeah, I decided the x-axis would be the volume. So what I wanted doing is the same as the theremin. This will be like one of my antennas, and it's going in a horizontal way. So antenna going to go into the mod input of the VCA. And my vertical antenna, which is my y-axis on this pad, is going to go into the frequency of the sine oscillator. Of course, there's just one more connection to make for this to work in a very basic sort of way, is to have the sine, what frequency to be on, you know, from the y, what volume it should be on, and then all you have to do is send the oscillator into the VCA, and you can hear the sound. But I just want to put one more module, and I'll show you again. You can get familiar with this as well. It's a really simple thing. Inside the mix and gain, if you're going to gain, there's various gain modules, and there's one. The simplest of them all is a volume attenuator, which basically all the way on the right, it doesn't gain, it only reduces volume. So all the way on the right, it's on maximum volume. And the reason I use this is obviously because we don't have we have no overall volume control inside. I have no idea what's going on here. You know, if I just turn it on, it could get like all the way to the right, and you know, we could blow out the speakers. So before I connect it, I'm gonna make sure we're safe. So let's connect it. I'm not sure I connected it on, yeah, I did. So why are we not hearing sound? Okay, the volume is all the way up, obviously, but the frequency is on total nothing. It's like, yeah, okay, let's do one more thing because, okay, and this is really important. And actually I totally should have done that. What I've just done is I've outputted a really high volume sound, and luckily we have this volume attenuator in, because if we didn't have this, we could have actually done some damage, because we've outputted like a maximum volume sound, a maximum volume sine wave, okay, with like the lowest possible frequency, which is probably like, I don't know, like 1 hertz or like zero, like as close as possible to 0 hertz. So we've just outputted like a crazy amount of DC offset into our speakers, and luckily it was on really low volume. Even on really low volume, it's not a recommended thing to do. So it's a good chance to show you. So I kind of did half of what I should have done. I mean, I did put out the volume attenuator, but I didn't take out the DC blocking filter, which I will show you right now. So yeah, you should do both of these things definitely if you're dealing with this kind of synthesis. So it's over here in the mix and gain. Where was it? In the modifier filter. And what it is basically just a really simple, and I guess it's high steep on like really low frequencies. Maybe it's like a high steep high pass, like on, I don't know, 5, 10, 20 hertz, something like that. So it'll block all that nasty stuff coming out. So we're much safer. Okay, we were lucky because of another reason. We didn't have that much DC offset because the OSC itself was set on a middle octave. Now, obviously, if you want this to be the lowest frequency, let's tell the oscillator to that the range, you know, the range starts right here. It starts at the very low end. This is kind of nice actually because you can actually you can choose like a range of octaves where this will respond across that range. In our case, to that the bass sound is like on minus 48. So it's like 4 octaves down, 5 octaves down. I'm just kind of being safe, so there we go. It's not so nasty now, so. Okay, you get the idea. So it actually does kind of it already does, it's a theremin right now. As far as the circuit itself, you have a theremin circuit. So it's not the same control though, is it? Like you have in the theremin, you're doing it with your hands, and obviously here you have just the mouse so you can move one at a time. But if you're using a controller, then you can just map the y-axis to one and then the x-axis to another controller. Or better yet, if you have some synth with a joystick controller, and it's a joystick that allows to map X and Y separately, and I'm hoping that if you have such a joystick, it allows you to do that, then it's pretty awesome, because then you're moving around one hand and you're actually controlling both these parameters with one hand. So it's actually even like an improvement on a theremin because you freed one hand. So if you're talking performance, so you're performing instead of with two hands, and you can do pretty much the same things if you have like a really good joystick. So already a really basic and cool theremin. Let's expand on that. Let's make it cooler. So as you noticed, let's connect it again before I disconnect. Let's keep it connected for one more minute. And what do we have? No. Okay, my attenuator is closed. So if you do have a joystick, you do get these. You can do all that. But let's say we don't have a joystick. Let's say we want to have that theremin sound to be moving around this pad, but you also want this to go on more automatically. Let's improve the theremin. And some theremin products actually do have these improvements built in. I've seen some VSTI instrument that pretty much has all these things that we're going to show inside it too. So it's like common to have these things. So let's first of all, while I was talking, I took out a pitch modifier B, which is a module you should be really familiar with already. Obviously allow to control. We're taking the frequency coming out and we're inputting it into the sine osc to modulation inputs. And this allows us to start getting funky with the pitch. I'm going to take out, you already know, the LFO-B. And I'm connecting it to the pitch. So at this point, what we've done so just that little simple connection, just that LFO that we've added, I would say it added a ton to the sound. And it added both in a performance kind of way. And it added both in an effect kind of way. I mean, you can do crazy stuff with his LFO, you know. We can get into changing the waveform, actually, by like kind of getting into the audio rate with the modulation. That, you know, let's get even crazier over here. Let's get really crazy. Super theremin patch that is like totally fucking insane. Okay, so let's take out multi-LFO-A. Let's connect that. Another LFO. Do you want like not get totally corrupted? Let's take a B. So we have a B and an A, and the only difference is that the A has modulation inputs on it. And let's have the LFO-A do what the B did before. It's modulating the the frequency of the theremin. Let's put it on in the audio rate. So obviously whatever is over like 20 hertz starts to get into that audio rate. So let's put it like the maximum is 400. Let's put it somewhere a little bit over the middle to give it room to move around. Moment is, and then let's take this LFO and modulate it with this LFO. That let's just, well, I'm checking it out, you know, let's first check it out. Now, isn't that awesome, guys? Now you've noticed I've before we started, I already took out the MIDI clock and the frequency divider, which you already know, and the frequency divider is already set up, so I can connect the LFO's audio rates, but I want this one to be synced to MIDI. Let's pretend our track is 120 BPM. Now I know if you're making like high-tech psychedelic trance music or dark psychedelic or experimental electronics or dubstep or IDM or whatever, you're drooling right now. Admit it, you're drooling. And this is synced to your BPM actually. So this is your lead sound for your track. That is cooler than any Nord lead that you're ever gonna buy. Yeah. Sorry, Clavia, for that little pun, but yeah. Okay, so let's make it. This is just one thing. Let's make it crazier. Let's do. We have. Let's take the DC blocking filter over here because it's gonna be our last thing. We're gonna make sure our signal is gonna be DC blocked. So let's put it over here. Attenuator as well. Let's make these blue just because that's my thing to make them blue. Over here. Now I'm kind of quiet because I'm having ideas as I'm going. I don't know if I want to just use. Yeah, let's do it like this. Okay, so let's disconnect the VCA for a minute. And this is going to be the last thing before the attenuator and everything, so I'm just going to put it here. Let's add oscillators. Why do we have to settle for one oscillator? Why can't we have like 4 oscillators? Just because, you know, because we're spoiled and we have a lot of DSP and modular, and yeah, that's awesome. So let's have 4 of them, and I'm going to arrange them like this. Okay. Each oscillator has its own pitch modifier. These connections. Real quick. Okay, there we go. So all the connections are made, and of course the basic frequency also needs to be connected. And this is the same as the first oscillator. This is just like cloning the first oscillator. Now, go. So what did we have here? Had like I'm thinking. Okay, let's do it this way. Let's have each oscillator have its own LFO. I'm kind of spreading it around a little bit just because it's getting hectic. And let's have exactly the same as before. Let's have the LFOs. Again, I'm cloning. I'm still exactly doing whatever the first. I'm just cloning the first oscillator fully. And now we have to decide: do we want the like? Okay, let's do it. Okay, I'm thinking. I'm quiet. I'm kind of stuttering again because I'm thinking: do we want this LFO to modulate like the LFOs of each of the oscillators, or do we want separate LFO-Bs for each oscillator? So let's try it both ways, just for like the fun of it. Well, but first we need to mix the oscillators, right? So we have four oscillators. I'm going to show you a couple of ways to mix them. So let's do, first of all, let's do like the most simplest way. Okay, let's take out a mix four oscillators. So this would be OSC1, OSC2, OSC3, 4. Let's connect that to the VCA, and all these connections are obviously already made, so that's like the signal chain is connected right now. So like I said, let's take the same is the modulator for all the separate, like each OSC, as you see, has an LFO, and LFO-B is the modulator for all these OSCs. Let's play a tone. Right now everything is on the same settings. What I'm going to do is we said we had like FM going on, right? Because it's going into the audio rate. So, and they're all sines. Oops, this one should be on a sine. And then all sine waves. And then I'm going to have just like the basic rates, just a tiny bit on each OSC. Putting like a different timbre. Now what you're hearing right now is a ton of distortion. And why are you hearing a ton of distortion? Because the mixer internally, I am guessing, is distorting. So what I do is I take out a peak meter, mixer to this, and it's clipping. So let's take down each of the channels. It's not a normalizing mixer. Some mixers inside will not allow for this, but there we go. We're not clipping anymore. We're at like 0.89 dB. We can have them a little bit higher, but it's enough just for the example. So let's keep it like this. So this is already pretty cool, but it's kind of like a convolved sound. It's like a chorus of weird stuff going on. Let's do it now the other way. Let's delete, well, not delete the LFO. Let's keep LFO-B for this oscillator, and clone it so each oscillator has its own modulator LFO. Where did that end? This ends. Each oscillator now has like its huge own chain. No, I placed the B above, didn't I? So B is the modulator. I'm just always try to think how to best organize your patches. Because look, I mean, all it is like the end result is a 4-OSC theremin, but inside it's already going crazy. So the crazier you're planning to get, you better make sure that you have as neat as possible of a design going. And then let's give each LFO, each synced LFO, a different timing. Now this should kind of mix it up a little bit more. There we go. It's much more interesting now. So yeah, I'm just gonna get it back to like the settings before I started screwing around. Much more developed than before when it was just with one modulator. So this is cool. Let's keep separate B be LFOs as modulators for each OSC. It's obviously really cool. So let's do that. And let's also have, let's have one more thing going. I have kind of like another idea before I show you kind of different ways you can mix them other than the four input mixer, but I want to add another thing. So let's add, well, we can add filtering as well. You know, let's add also a filter. Let's just put out like the poly filter, which you've already seen before. Let's keep it right here for a second. Let's put out a, this you've already seen as well, an amplitude modulator. Now, I'm thinking how to do this. Well, I'll let you in on what I'm thinking. What I'm thinking that like, okay, we have a theremin right now, right? We have this crazy sound going on. So that we can control the volume and that we can control the frequency and we can kind of do a bit more and make it like really a little, we can find nice settings in here. But we are making electronic music, like myself. I'm doing psytrance music. So I would kind of want a way to have it integrate even better into my tracks than what it is right now. So what I was thinking is have it be able to be MIDified, and the MIDI would give it just like a MIDI gate that, and then I would use that gate here and kind of get like a trance gate thing going or something like that. Let's do that. And we'll take out MVCA for this. Put it up here. MVC, which is our MIDI brain that you already know, into the MIDI input of the patch. And so here's our amplitude modulator that I've already taken. I want to make some more space. 1 second. Amplitude modulator that we've already taken out. Now we can. I'm thinking, should we drive it like with an envelope, or should we drive it with? Let's drive it with an envelope. That way we can. Yeah. Okay. I'll show you. So that way we will be able to write MIDI, and it's another cool thing to kind of mix it up over here. So I'm gonna delete the amplitude modulator, and I'm gonna put in a VCA instead because I only want one input moment. Instead of going all the way up into this VCA, well, it will go like this. For volume, it's for the theremin stuff. It's not for start stop. It doesn't need gate. We want this to be always on. Okay, we want this to still act like a theremin. Like we've mentioned that there's no off on. It's always like it's based on a value. So we're going to keep this VCA, but then this VCA is going to go in succession into another VCA. And this VCA is going to be controlled by an envelope. And this would be the envelope over here. And I've chosen an attack decay envelope because I want to turn this into a trance. I want to turn this into a psychedelic trance FX sound. So I'll show you why I chose this envelope. Basically it's because I want short stab sounds. So to this envelope and then leave it like this. And then obviously if I move this around, play, because right now the final sound, the final VCA, the amplifier, is controlled by a MIDified envelope. And while there's no MIDI information, it just doesn't know what we want it to do. It will not play anything. So I think, did we connect MIDI? No. Okay, we need to connect MIDI to the patch. There we go. And it's playing something. The envelope is too short, so wait 1 second. So obviously it's not cool like this. If I'm pressing the keyboard, then what's the point, right? So What I was thinking is something else, though. I was thinking, let's do this. Let's go in our sequencer loop, so we have an example. Oh, sorry. Let's go inside. Now, as of course, the frequency doesn't matter, right? Because it's not getting frequency information. Again, let's go to the MVC is taking the MIDI information, everything that is coming into the patch, which includes whatever note we play, whatever MIDI information. But we're only not using the frequency information at all. This is being controlled with the performance of the theremin, just by the performance of the theremin. So the note doesn't matter, but what we can do control is the on and off of the VCA, the final sound. So my whole point was this. Let's write something, oh, stupid logic. Let's write something kind of stabby, short and stabby, quick. Randomly putting it, this is just for the example, so. Let's give it a shorter envelope. And of course, you can choose and you can change it up. You can have that you can, let's say we want one oscillator. Let's just deal with one for a minute. So you think Theremin and Moog would like this, or would they turn in their grave? I'm not sure either way. I'm not sure if they would like, or they would like it, but yeah, it's pretty cool. Let's add more. Let's make it even cooler. So let's do two things. We do have the filter already out here. I did not forget about it. But let's also let's change the oscs. We have to use a sine, you know. We're not limited by the sine. Why do that? Sure. Let's use a wavetable oscillator. And this wavetable is it does have also a sine inside. So we're not losing anything, and we're only gaining more waveforms, and we still have the sine, so much cooler. If the other stuff doesn't work out, back to the sine. We don't need to change the module. Do the same, you know, 4 sines, 4 wavetables. So here we have the 4 wavetables. Let's also one more thing. You know, we have MIDI now, so we have the gate option. So let's give the LFOs the option to be gated. I'm gonna turn them off on all of them by default on my patch. You don't have to. So you have the option of being every single one of these LFOs. If we want to, we can just click the retrigger button. And as you see, yeah, I always think that you should make like connections you're obviously not going to use it, then don't make them. But if there are connections that it's really possible that you could enjoy experimenting, then yeah, make them and it'll be really quick. On, off, on, off. And now we have for wavetables instead of for sines. So I showed you the mixer, and I did promise you that I'll show you other ways to mix the signal other than this simple mixer. A few other ways. The crossfade. And I'll just pull out a few of them. I'll pull out two of them. So it's this and this and this. Though this is simple enough, like you've seen, this is a mixer with four inputs on it and an output. Are both actually they're both the same, but like the same inside. But here you have a pad, and here you have it going on behind the scenes. Inputs. So what's going on? It's an XY axis like this one. Will be one of the inputs. Crossfading between them. Let's say it's all the way here. You will hear only OSC A, which is here. If it's all the way here, you will hear only OSC D. Here, 50-50 about of B and D. And if it's here, you'll hear mostly C, some of B, and some of A. And of course, the relationship between them will be based on the distance from the closer the dot is to a corner, the louder that oscillator will be in the mix. A synth, and I'm sure like maybe the John Bowen Solaris synth has this, but I doubt there's many synths that have two joysticks. Then you could connect one to this, and then you can start like just imagine what you can do if you're like a keyboardist. I know there's this one guy, Jimmy from Planet Z. Shout out to you. I know he has the Solaris and he is a performer, a keyboardist performer. And for him, something like this would be like totally awesome. You could blow people away if you know how to use this properly and have the right control configuration for this. I don't, and I guess you don't. So let's not use this one. Let's use this one just for the example. Again, the same as far as the corners, as far as the vector that is going on inside. Like I've explained before, the closer the actual location would be to one of the corners, the louder that OSC would be in the mix out of the four of them. Like you set the offset, like this would be 0, 0. No, this would be 0, 0, the middle of it. And then if you want the dot to be like more to the left, then this would be the offset. 64 would be all the way to the left. The y-axis, so minus 64 plus 63 would be this corner. Like obviously plus 63 plus 63 would be taking, like it would be here and be taking it over here. Spot, like it's kind of like minus 27, so let's kind of imagine it like, I don't know, somewhere here, and plus 18, so it's like about here. With like listening to it, but let's keep it on 0, 0. Let's keep it like in a way that every single one of the oscillators is like at 25%, right? If we're talking like 100% of the sound. Modulation inputs. So we can have something like we will have an LFO. Let's bring an LFO already. Two LFOs. Let's bring two Bs. One LFO will be changing the x-axis, so it'll be fucking around with where it is on here. And we'll be changing where it is on the y, where it is on this axis. I think that's really cool. And let's give both of these frequency. Let's give both of these the information, MIDI timing information. And as you saw, what I did just now is this one already has all the outputs are taken, and I want to dedicate outputs to this, dividers to this. So connect the gate just because everything to be like gives you the option to gate and be on time. So yeah, everything is now connected again except to the output. So let's delete the mixer. And this one, as far as I know, should be normalized. I mean, this one should not clip. Let's try it. Let's try if it clips or not. If it does, I'll show you what we can do. Well, if it's 2.8 right now. Oh, no, cool. It's not clipping. Really close. Well, it's kind of too close for my liking. Well, you know what? For this, let's not add this, but um, can do is just place like on, you know how we had the attenuator right here? We can place one after each oscillator. Like, you know what? Let's do it. Let's do it. Just because it is quick to do. I didn't want to bore you, but I guess it's a good detail to know that. So let's delete the inputs. Let's make this connection. And I'll show you, like, all I'm going to do is take each one of them down a notch until the overall thing I'm more comfortable. I guess because it isn't clipping, but if we kind of mess around with the LFOs, I'm not comfortable that it will stay not clipping. So let's take them all the way up for a minute. And then I'm just taking them down 2 notches. And let's see if that will do it. If not, then we'll go one more. 6 dB. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that's really good. I don't think it'll jump above it. If it will, you always have this, and you can look if you notice speaking or if you hear that things are they're going to be messed up. But if they're messed up in a way that you didn't plan on, then you know something's wrong. So let's take the whole output of this quad crossfade and mod module, and let's put it already into our filter. Let's bring our filter into play. So it's a poly filter like we've used before with the many filter types. Right now it's on through. There's no filtering going on. I just want to see if there's sound. Yay! And it sounds cool. Now let's play with this for a minute. They're both on external frequency. Let's see what they're set to. Let's set one to let's set one to, I don't know, 1/4, 1/8. Like a distinct character, hopefully. Okay, maybe, yeah, let's start at the corner. Yeah, that's a good idea to show you that too. Because it's modulating it, so let's start it like at the very least. Let's try that. Cool. Let's bring variation a little more into the oscillators. Okay, they're all on sine wave. Whoa, hold on. We didn't even get like our coolness going on. So we have waveform oscillators right now, right? We switched. We had sine oscillators, and now they are wavetable oscillators. So let's play around with that. Let's leave one on sine, so just kind of it's already, remember, it's already getting kind of FM'd and screwed around by the let's see. Let's just play around with it. Let's put one. I'm randomly picking things on that whatever digi thing was written there. Vocal format 4. Down sample sync 2, whatever that means. And another thing, let's take down all the, remember we had our sign on minus 48. Okay, and this goes even further down. This goes down to minus 72. So it'll be more of a bass even. There we go. Whoa, that's awesome. I didn't expect it to be this cool. Yay, win. That is pretty cool. You can do crazy things like have the crossfade go into audio rate, whatever that does or not. So look at how many tones you can come across. Awesome, awesome. Pretty weird stuff right there. Okay. So we're not done yet, you know? You might think we're done, but we're not done. We're going to make this even cooler. So, yeah. Remember, we actually, this movie is about a theremin, you know? It's kind of gotten out of hand. It's totally gotten out of control. But let's get it even more out of control. So we have the filter. Let me think. I just had a thought, and then let's add delays. We should add maybe the delays like the patch. Let's add an LFO that that modulates the V. Okay. Let's do this. Let me bring out an LFO-B, and I'll show you exactly what I'm doing. LFO, automatically attaching it to the gate just to set it up and giving it MIDI timing. So I want like as you were playing, right? I'm gonna solo the connections for a minute. As we're playing, I want this knob to dynamically change by itself. So we'll have like this. Do it on based on the BPM. So what I need to do is I need to connect the LFO's outputs into this knob, which is the decay modulation. Put it on external, set my BPM. Hopefully it works. Or not. There we go. Now you gotta admit, it's getting better all the time. And we haven't even put in a filter yet. Let's put in a filter sound. Now let's have something. Let's give ourselves the ability to modulate the filter. So we want another LFO. We want this one gated as well. And we want it to be able to be on the BPM as well. Which one is? Let's see. Do we have connections available? Yeah, one more. Yeah. Now you're talking. And don't forget, of course. Square pusher sounds. And let's add that delay. I'm gonna filter some lows from this thing. Q low cut. And of course, now you have so much to play with in this patch. Now, almost everything that you touch is relevant, and it will change the timbre and the things that are going on inside. And the cool thing is that you can always tame it and bring it back to the very original theremin sound. You know, you can chins, offset. Let's say I want this oscillator, so I'm gonna here, Y all the way here. I'm going to hear just this oscillator in the mix. I'm going to reset the filter for a minute. Whoa, this is awesome. Hold on. Before we reset everything, let's listen to this for a minute. And let's reset everything. Let's go back to our sine. And we're back to the theremin sound. Let's reset the filter. Oh, we're not. What else is going on? 1 second. Some LFO is still going on. Maybe something here. Okay, it's still. There we go. Now it's just the sine. But we've kind of ruined the theremin, didn't we? Like, okay, so we've made a techno machine, but we've ruined the theremin aspect of it. What if we do want it to serve as a theremin? What if we want the option to have MIDI, to have this techno machine, but we want this same machine to be a theremin? We want it to be a two-in-one, like an awesome all-in-one sort of theremin and cool stuff. So all we need is a switch. Whoa, okay, let's put it here. Hold on. We need a switch that, let's say, do we want one oscillator or four? Let's say we want we want to have the option of having it act just like a theremin with one oscillator without this whole chain at all, and without the especially without the which VCA was it though? It was this one, without the envelope that is actually triggering it via MIDI. So it's always continuous again, like a normal theremin. So we're going to have to take this output instead of this output. You know what? Let's do it another way. Let's allow for all four oscillators, but have it continuous. So we have either continuous or either with the LFO. So I'm going to move this VCA just over here, and I'm going to take a switch. On switch, because we just need two. Original theremin mode without MIDI, without connecting it to the first input, getting like that gated envelope and MIDI thing to the second input. So there's going to be two modes. There's going to be like a free running theremin mode, and there's going to be this out. This is the MIDI mode. And this should free run right now. And it does. So in the free running, we kept everything actually. This is cool because we kept all four oscillators. Right now only one is going. And if we want to use just one, we can. Here it goes. It's just a normal theremin. Behave exactly like a normal theremin. Maybe it's a little too low on the basic octave. You can decide where you want to locate it. Come on, I want 48. Minus 48. There we go. Little delay. So you can behave like that if you wanted to, and you can make it behave like we've showed before and make a totally crazy FX, trance, techno, and weird stuff machine out of it. Yeah, and you have a ton of parameters, and obviously you can do a ton more. You can have, how we have like a main filter here, and we did kind of get spoiled and have like a whole chain for each oscillator. So you can actually add a filter to each oscillator, add more modulations, sync these LFOs as well if you feel like you want to do that. And yeah, the possibilities are obviously modular, obviously endless. Again, I just wish for this machine, I wish I had this two joystick set up and to once and for all try it as a performance, make like a super theremin and work with it as a performance synth. But it's still cool nonetheless this way. So hang on to the next video, and I hope you enjoyed this one.